All right, so we set up that instancing business mostly so that we could simulate on low res geometry and then replace it later with high res. So time to actually do that. I had no idea how that got turned off, but let's turn that back on now. So here we are. This is where we made our low res before, which were just the pieces we were already using. We're going to do more or less the same principle. It's just that the pieces we end up writing out will be different. They'll be, like I said, much more high res. So I'm going to take this guy here and say, maybe we'll call it instances high. I'll make that directory when we end up doing it. Otherwise, we'll use the same instance version number and everything else for the rest of it. Cool. So let's take a look. I'm going to put this null here so that we can actually see the whole thing here at once. And let's turn on this smooth wire shading. The very first thing we're going to need to do is if we're going to up-res this, well, then we're going to need to have a lot more points to move around. And probably the most smash and grab, easiest, brute force way to do that is with the divide sop. Put the divide sop down and we don't care so much about this stuff, but it's this bricker that we want. Bricker, as you can kind of see, is breaking up, it's adding all these points into the geometry in world space. So it's basically looking down the axis and just smashing, well, really all three axes. It's happening on all sides, but it's most apparent along this one, of course. We're just adding this kind of grid-looking thing in. Now I want to have them all be equal, so I'm just going to do one of these things, paste copy relative references to both, so I can just change this one thing here. There we go. So how much do I want? Well, we don't have to really worry about taking up memory because all of the principles of the instancing still applies. We're just going to make these high-res pieces this one time, and then, yeah, they'll be instanced over the rest of it. So let's get this pretty high-res. I mean, we might go down quite a bit. Let's see what 0.5 looks like, because here's the piece here. I can't really see any of our new resolution practically at all on this, so let's go down, down, down. Oh, that's too much. We're below 0 now. What's 0.01 get us? See, this one's actually thinking about it. Probably going to get a good amount. And this is great. This is actually what I'd like to see. We still have our outside, and we'll have a few layers on the inside that we can perturb with some noise. Looking at the whole thing, it looks like this. So we added quite a bit of resolution. Cool. So we got the resolution. Now let's actually use it for something. The Voronoi gives us some groups that are pretty convenient in that they are inside and outside. So whatever essentially the original geometry was, the outside faces, before we smashed it up, those go into the outside group. And then the new faces that were created, basically between the pieces, those are called inside. So put another way, if I take this delete and I say, hey, just show me the inside, you'll see it's just going to be these boundaries around the side. But oh no, how come we're not seeing it go all the way around the piece? Well, that's because when we had the inside originally from the first Voronoi, it was correct. Because back then, it was the only game in town making an inside. So deleting non-selected here, it shows up as expected. But the problem is that this Voronoi here ended up, once again, making its own inside and outside. So things that were once outside, like this, well, they're going to remain outside always. But stuff that was inside are now outside. Because, of course, at this point, when this piece was coming in, these were all inside pieces. We can even prove that to ourselves by looking at it like this. So there you go. Inside pieces. But then after our Voronoi, we have new inside pieces, which are, of course, based off the new stuff that it made. So that's no good. We need to have a way to say, hey, once inside, always inside. And there's a lot of ways to do that, but I'd say the easiest are, how about you don't override the other ones? So let's just say, instead of making a new inside and a new outside and just overriding the old ones, let's just make an entirely different set of groups. So by the time you come out here, we've got inside and inside sub, outside and outside sub. We're not ever going to care about the outside things anyway. All we're going to care about the inside. So I'm just going to say, let's update the inside group here to be the inside group and this new inside subgroup. So now, once we get over here, we can see that we're going to have everybody will be participating now. And you can see it's hesitating because it's got that divide going again. But so let's bring this back and say, all right, are we getting everybody now? Delete non-selected, and we are. We're getting all the new pieces and the old pieces. Great. So now that we have that, and that's divided, let's actually go to work on it. Let's apply a noise to just those inside groups that we were talking about.